Assalamu alaikum. Finally, today I'm ready with part 2 of the Sheikh's, my translation of the Sheikh's Millat Ibraheem Hanifa. However, I will do it right after I give you this heads up. I felt it was important for me to add something to the last video that I had recorded. I've been lax. Well, I haven't been lax, I've been busy. But regarding this subject exactly, the subject I decided to translate for you from the Sheikh, the Egyptian Sheikh, Muhammad Jamil Ghazi. I recall what happened years ago. And so I made a video about it when I was in the Anglican Church in Palm Beach County, the church that Trump goes to. So I went over this video because I'm going to repost it to my Facebook page. And as I was thinking about it, I thought I ought to make it a muqaddimah. We say it's a prelude, it's an intro to what else I'm doing regarding the Sheikh, because it's the exact same thing. It's the same subject. It's Tawheed. So, before I give you lesson number 2, which I've been a little bit late, this is probably 5 days ago, I want to tell you what happened after that evening when I was in the church that Trump attends in Palm Beach County. After they were, I don't want to say forced to listen to me, but when they wanted to escape, and I asked Allah to give me the courage to be a little bit aggressive, may you say? Yeah, because if you're going to try and stop the dawah, you shouldn't bother, because you can't. If it's not going to be me, it's going to be someone else. But seeing as I was there and I was already prepared, I did it. But I didn't tell you what happened after that. And that is really important because it's connected to lesson 2 of the Sheikh's. The lesson is really only an hour and a half in Arabic, but translating it is not easy. So it takes a little bit of extra care because of the subject matter is so important, for converts especially. And this is a proof, because as I go back now and remember what they did after that, it's all coming to a beautiful conclusion. So it was time to leave. Everyone said their piece, did what they wanted to do. Of course, everyone circled around the 3 speakers, the rabbi, the priest, and the African American. And I was just with my neighbor, and suddenly a person came up, a young man, maybe 30-ish, 35-ish, and he started to say how much he enjoyed the fact that I interrupted and that I got a chance to say what I wanted to say. And he said, I used to be a Baha'i. Do you know what that means? And I said, yes, I know what it means. He said, well, I certainly realized that this is a very big subject, and who's who, and who's a Jew, and who's a Christian, and who's a Muslim, and who comes from where, and how, and why. And I just decided that I'm going to invite you. If you're free right now, you and your friend, he didn't know it was my neighbor, like 2 houses down. He said, would you like to come? Because I'm Muslim now. And why? Because I married a Muslim woman, and she convinced me that Islam is better. So now I'd like to invite you to where we go to learn Islam, and it's only about a mile away. So would you be interested in coming? I'd love you to come and just introduce you to all the people that I interface with. So I looked at my neighbor and I said, it's up to you. He's driving. He said, sure, because he's involved in dawah, and he's extremely effective in dawah. He's been at it for years, and he memorized Quran, and sometimes if they allow him to be a part-time, you can say khatib, because he has excellent English, and he was born in America. But unfortunately, those who run the masjid, the Salafi masjid, they're good people, but they like it in Arabic only, and Anyway, I don't want to go through all these meanderings of the men and who rules what and who allows what and who does what, because Allah is the one who calls himself the Fatih. He opens the doors. So let's not even quibble about humans and what they have on their agenda and what they allow people to do and how they do it, because once again, Allahu Akbar. Anyway, let's get back to, well, we went. It was in a church, of course, because that's how things work usually for some people. And everyone was very polite, very welcoming, until, can you guess? The music started, and they would have a little musical trio, and someone played the piano, someone played the guitar. There was singing. Okay, I got it. This is the norm. This is how people enjoy a religious sitting or setting, however you want to refer to it as. So you could be taking a Sufi interpretation of Islam, because they're the ones that do the music, most of them, or you could be taking a Sunni interpretation of Islam, where they're a little bit, I'm not saying they say music is halal or allowed, but sometimes, shall I use the word yes? Why not? Time is running. And now here in Florida, we don't have a lot of time to straighten out who is who. So there is a group called Ikhwan al-Muslimin, the Muslim Brethren, started in Egypt 100 years ago or more, a little bit, well, 120, something like that. And they don't take a hard line on music the way all of the four madhahib of the Sunni imams say no music. See, they don't want to differentiate, tell you the truth about what's really up in Islam, because often men get afraid of fighting because they go to prison and they die. So sometimes, especially if you're from the Middle East, and if you're especially from the top, let's say 3 countries, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Syria, say it out. These people are afraid, because if you don't say what the government tells you they want you to say, and as we know, Syria for years was ruled by Shia. Oh, say it. Shia, it means a faction. That's all. It means something, an offshoot, not the standard version, which is Sunni. And if you prefer Salaf, you can say they call it the stricter version of the Sunnah. No, all the Salaf means is, now listen up, this is careful. This is careful, that's bad English. I'm trying to be careful here and rein in my passions, being the emotional woman that I am, that I'm accused of being. Not only am I a woman, I have Irish genetics, and sometimes, well, I guess Allah wants it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to enter Egypt 40 years ago and do what I did, to learn all this stuff so I could give it to you, my fellow Americans, right? Am I going to tell you you're not a Muslim if you listen to music? No. Am I going to tell you you're not a Muslim if you watch films? No. I will say your belief is weak, and maybe your capacity. Who knows what Allah will do tomorrow? However, Islam is not scary. Islam is not threatening. Islam, let me sum it up for you quickly now, because I want to get on to the Sheikh's part 2. You don't have to love Islam. You don't have to do it. Allah chooses who will obey. But don't try to stop it. Don't try to stop it, because you can't. Allah preserves it. He protects it. And He chooses those who will be allowed, mind you the word, only by the permission of Allah, will go forward to fight for it. Now, before I close this one and I go on to part 2 of the Sheikh, who is the only person who would ever come out, and this was over 30 years ago, and say the word Israel means those who fight with the name Allah, in the path of Allah. They didn't let him out. He was kept hidden in the inner sanctums, and only special people could get a hold of his cassette recordings. Oh, if you only knew how convoluted is the Middle East, and how really, no, I'll wait. Let me get the Sheikh out. So you don't care what I believe, and I shouldn't be saying anything. But of course I will. Should I be saying it? You have to wonder. You're not supposed to be saying anything from an American perspective, like freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, especially now, December 2025. We are now December 16th, 2025. There's a lot of, shall I say, gossip. I mean, do I believe the media? No, most of the time, no. But now there's this new thing. They're trying to convince you that the President Trump is going to go around and assassinate people who do not follow him. Who's telling you this? Oh, media outlets. I'm here to tell you, Allah gives life, Allah gives death. Quran says, if all the powers in the world gathered together to hurt you, they can't hurt you unless Allah allows it. So with that being said, at this late date, everything happening now, it's almost like we're at the end of the line. Either Islam is going to come forward in massive strength. I don't mean weapons. I don't mean weapons. We're not talking about who has more nuclear weapons, who has more new fighter jets, who has better tunnels. You know, all of this. If you know Quran, it's almost like a joke that these human beings could think that they can defeat Allah's plan. It's silly, isn't it? But if you've been raised up to believe in human power, since you were a tiny little boy, I had 5 brothers, so I know how they do it. You know, they give them pretend guns and make-believe soldier clothes, and then they enter them in whatever sport that's macho, like in America it's football. And now everybody, myself included, by the way, they're really enamored of the MMA and the fighters from Dagestan and, you know, Khabib, and you have to admit it's awesome, okay? The way these men train and are dedicated, and they come out of Russia, and then they just come over and sweep away every other country and win. I like it, but it has its limits. They are Allah's creation as well. Allah has allowed them to come forward now, hasn't he? To embarrass all the other countries. Why did I have 5 brothers? Why was I the oldest of these brothers who loved to fight? Allah determined that this would be the road I'm going to walk on, so that I could walk on the high road. So now, it's not only that I'm not really that impressed and not at all afraid of the male species. In Egypt, they used to say to me, how can you argue with the shiuch? And I would say, because I don't know as much as they do. And they know more than I do. So I'm going to have to do something to make them tell me. Even though I am in the land of Pharaoh, who doesn't really like them, unless they bow. The word is hadir. In Arabic, you say hadir. It means, I will do what you want. Your will is mine. Hadir. It's not really what it means, though. If you really want to do the Arabic, hadir means at your service. You know, hadir. Like if somebody calls you and you're a little bit far and you'll go, hadir, just, I'm coming. Then when you get there to the person who summoned you, you say hadir, I'm here now. So this package is wound up now, December 17th, 2025. When the issue has been who's going to sit with whom, who's going to go, who's going to sit and wait, who's going to come forward, who's going to summons, who's going to compromise. Because they themselves will tell you. Who was it? The one I really don't like. He was with the October War. He was from them lying and saying, oh, politics is fluid. You can never establish anything on a political base that isn't changeable. We change with the times. Who was he? Oh, Kissinger. Yeah. When he lied to the Egyptians when they crossed the canal, and they actually won this. It's called the 6th October War. But they were given false information that they couldn't go on. They didn't have enough zakhira, bullets, or whatever it is for the weaponry. And so they stopped them. Now, who stopped them? Allah. Who allowed Henry Kissinger to give the wrong information to the Egyptian High Command? Allah. So Allah did not want, at that point in time, a massive victory for the Egyptian military. Only He knows why. Has He postponed it till now? Well, I saw a convoy opening up Rafah today, sending a lot of supplies and truckloads of everything the Gazans need as they're drowning in their tents and freezing cold and sleet and even some snow. It's a good sign, isn't it? That's why I'm in a good mood. So that's why I felt it's only right to give a little preliminary introduction to the rest of what Sheikh Jamil Ghazi. His full name is Muhammad Jamil Ghazi. You can put the Sheikh or you can put the doctor, because that's what he got in Azhar in Arabic language, or you can just say Sheikh Jamil Ghazi. Now I'm also going to kick in with Sheikh Fawzi Saeed. A few days ago, someone did a mini bio of him, and it came on my Facebook page. Some follower of Sheikh Fawzi who really loved him, and he said this is the 6th anniversary of Sheikh Fawzi's death. So I want to give, some kind of, how would you call it, respect for Sheikh Fawzi, to tell you his life from beginning to end. From his youth, studying electric engineering in Cairo University, and then going into the military, and then never going to Azhar, just learning on his own, and then establishing a gigantic Masjid Tawheed, very close to Tahrir Square, Midan Ramses, very close to where all the action happened when we had the Arab Spring and the president was removed. Well, I was halfway through and I'm thinking, oh, who am I going to send this to? How many friends can read Arabic? It was a beautiful presentation. And suddenly they just took it away. They took it away. It was gone. 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 I'll find it. Inshallah, if Allah wants that to come out, I will find it. And you know why? That very day, that 6 years ago, that Sheikh Fawzi Saeed died, It's my dad's birthday. Now, I know it's not the same calendar, and I know it's not, but I can't help but think my birth dad, who was raised a strict Catholic, oldest of 13 children, went to the seminary for 1 year till they asked him to leave and said, reconsider your vocation. Yeah. So he left and he married my mom and had 8 children, whatever. His birthday is December 8th. Sheikh Fauzi died 6 years ago on December 8th. So I had my birth father die, my blood, the Irishman, ancestry, on the same day that my faith father died, my father in Aqidah, Tawheed, and immediately came to my mind, I wonder if they met up there. Well, Sheikh Fauzi died a martyr. He died of kidney failure. Not only that reason, but, coming forward and getting in prison 4 times. And he deserves martyrdom in the highest place in heaven. But my dad never knew anything about Islam. And he said to me one time, I'm going to close with this. One time he said to me, I don't know why you're so enamored of this Arab stuff, this Middle Eastern Arab stuff. He didn't like it at all. And he said, and by the way, I was not a Muslim. I was just studying, PhD at this time. He said, let me just tell you, Princess, that was his name for me. Never call me Diane in my life. He called me Princess. And he said, you're going to end up following the Jews. My dad was very Trumpy. He was very, that attitude, the way he spoke, let's not say it wasn't very intellectual at all. Oh, yeah. When he said I couldn't apply to Harvard and he refused to sign the application, he said, you're not going to any commie Jew university. Yes, my dad. Commie Jew. He said, you go to Boston College like a good Catholic girl. Allah determined this. You see, Allah's the one that has already written what's going to happen, where you're going to go, when, where, why, and how. So I did go to Boston College for a year, and I transferred to the Jew U. But it wasn't Harvard. It was Brandeis University, near to where I lived. Because I did live in this intellectual capital of America. I could literally walk to Harvard if I wanted to, but there was a bus going down Mass Ave, Massachusetts Avenue, that I could ride easily. So when you come down to what he said, you're going to end up following the Jews. Well, was that a form of Tawheed and he just didn't understand the mechanics of it all? That Allah sent down the Torah, Allah sent down the Injil, and Allah sent down the Quran. And the Quran is muhaymin. It's protecting and preserving everything that came before it of Allah's revelation. I would prefer to think of it that way. I would prefer to know that Allah is Rahman ar-Rahim. He knows where we all come from. He knows our capacity. He knows what we have gained in the religion and what we have not yet heard. Isn't that a nice way to think about life? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.